The Dating Show, brought to you by olderdatingonline.com.
Hey, Debbie, let's just, there we go. And again.
Again, okay. Ooh.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's not the ring of a fine wine glass, is
No,
it?
the props department here have come up with beer glasses instead of wine glasses.
But it was close.
But we got the sort of right effect there.
Yes.
So we're talking about wine and dating on this edition. So cheers. I mean, where's that come from?
Well, I've been trying to find out, and apparently cheer comes from facial countenance and being happy, and the word cheers came to be happy. So that's what you're wishing people when you have a drink with them.
So you go, cheers.
Cheers.
Do you always do that?
Actually, more and more now, actually.
You go, cheers and clink the
the
glasses.
glasses, more.
Is that the right thing to do on a date?
I think it's a nice thing to do. It's a nice touch, don't you think?
Even on the first date?
On the first date, it's not so intimate, is it, Rod?
OK. What about bottoms up? Because that's my favourite.
Now, that one I'd avoid on the first date.
Right, OK. So we're talking about wine. We've got an expert called Olly on the show. And Emily Jeffcott, our reporter, asked him a few questions.
The Dating Show, brought to you by olderdatingonline.com.
We've had the research, haven't we, by P&O Cruises, and can you tell me what that research has found?
Yeah, it's actually that 21% of us, that's almost a quarter of us, would probably stick to a safe bet when it comes to dining out, despite almost two-thirds of us saying that we enjoy trying new wine. And to be honest, it kind of fits with what I'm hearing from people on board the ships, because I've got these wine bars. I've got 4 wine bars on P&O Cruises, and they all serve 32 wines by the glass. And what's amazing to me is that at the start of the cruise, I always find that the big hitters are things like Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand, Pinot Grigio from Italy. But as the cruise goes on, people definitely get more adventurous as they get to know the wine list. And I've listed all the wines by style. So, for example, with white, I've got a section called Zesty and Fresh. So you know that if you pick a wine from there, you're going to enjoy the similar wines that are around that wine. And that gives people their wings, so that we've got a white wine from Greece, from the island of Santorini, that suddenly, towards the end of the cruise, people are absolutely loving. So wine, for me, it really shows is a personal journey, and it helps massively once you've tasted the stuff to get your confidence.
I think that's really helpful because for myself, and I'm sure for other people out there, it's quite difficult. I mean, I would tend to go for a more fruity white wine.
Yes, indeed. And I think it's all about learning what you love. And I can tell you how to taste wine. Anybody can learn to taste and evaluate wine. There's no secret art to it. One of the big things is if the flavours of the wine linger and last once you've sipped the wine, then that's an indication of good quality. If they disappear straight away, well, look, it's a wine that's simple. It's the difference really between kind of an easy margarita or something a bit more complex like a Four Seasons. That's really the name of the game, but it's all about finding the flavours that really excite you. So if you, for example, say to me, I really love my Malbec, the first thing I'm going to do is grab your hand, take you into the glass house and say, you've got to try this Tanat from Uruguay. It's beautifully rich, beautifully earthy, and if you like Malbec, you'll love its heartiness.
And what about, myself personally, I can't really get into red wine. I think I find that the tannin is too hefty for me. What would you recommend in that sort of situation?
Well, I'd say you can either go for richer white wines, which are a great bet. So we've got the FMC Chenin Blanc on the glasshouse, or if you go for a supermarket wine, you've got Tesco Finest Swartland Chenin Blanc. I reckon you'd love that. But you could always experiment with lighter red wines, and a good example is Pinot Noir. And if you serve it chilled with a barbecue, you might sort of psychologically think of it a bit more like a white, think of it more like a Butch Rosé than a red, and you'll probably get along with it. So the Co-op have truly irresistible Pinot Noir. It's a great buy for $7.99. If you give that a whirl, let me know how you get on, Emily. I bet you'd really enjoy that served chilled with something like a tuna steak. Give it a go.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I love tuna.
Well, there you go. So I
Wow.
think, mixing and matching with food and drink, actually, sometimes it can frame the wine or frame the food in a more favourable light. So there are some classic wine pairings out there, like Rioja goes brilliantly with lamb, Prosecco is fantastic with some simple mozzarella, but it's up to you to embrace the spirit of adventure and actually try things that are a bit unusual. And actually we always think, well, red wine with cheese, not always the case. Actually, if you think of all the flavours on a cheese board and the textures, they're very different from things like Brie right through to Stilton. Quite often, a white wine can be a really good overall match, like a white Burgundy, and an inexpensive one would be Waitrose White Burgundy at $8.99 is a great bet. And I do this in the glasshouse on my taster dinners. I serve white and red and I offer people the choice of the cheese board. Be amazed how many people enjoy the white. Another great white wine and cheese match is Sauvignon Blanc with goat's cheese. Sometimes they just work brilliantly well. It's actually really hard to find one wine that will go with all of those cheesy textures and flavours. So I open a bottle of red and a bottle of white at home, and honestly, in the summertime, the white is the one that just vanishes before the red.
I'm feeling quite thirsty now.
We should go drinking. Or
Let's
tasting.
do
Let's call
it.
it tasting. Drinking responsibly equals tasting.
Absolutely. So really the message is just to be bold and just try a few different varieties.
I would say so, and I think don't be afraid of picking your wine from off the beaten track. So I've mentioned Greece, but I would say also if you're a fan of Spanish wine, Portuguese wine is incredible. Absolutely mind-blowing local grape varieties with their own character, good value for money, widely available in the supermarket. I have the Quinta de Crastos Douro in the glass house, and it's one of those wines that it's a blend actually of port grapes. So if you enjoy those kinds of big hearty flavours, you'll love that style of wine. It's inventive, it's fantastic with a roast, but it doesn't need to cost you a fortune. The other thing I'd say is if you want any advice, I am across social media, and I can't promise that I'll be there 24/7 for you, but if you tweet me at Jolly Olly and you're in the supermarket or in a restaurant, you want a recommendation for a birthday or a wedding, I'll do my best to do it for you, and I'm on facebook.com/Jolly Olly as well. So if you want any help, if I can, I'll do my best. Or my website as well is up there. So, get in touch.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
It's an absolute pleasure, Emily.
Jolly Olly.
Jolly Olly,
I bet he's jolly after a few bottles of red or white, isn't he?
Yes.
But he's quite jolly without it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to tweet Jolly Olly.
But, I mean, it's a good point, all this, because, you go into a bar on a date or you go to a supermarket ahead of a date, and you've got a vast array of selection of red, white, rosé. There's
really
rows and rows of wine. I've got no idea what I'm doing.
No, I tend to stick to what I like because I really enjoy a slow, relaxed glass of Merlot or Corbière.
I said to you earlier, I said, what are you doing here? Nothing. But you come up with all this. Go on.
But actually, I think for mature daters, wine... a little bit of wine knowledge is very important. I think wine plays a big part of a nice date.
Is it impressive when a man says, Debbie, I'd recommend a glass of the Malbec?
Very much, actually. Yes,
rather
in
than
fact,
just going red. Do you want red or white?
Red or white. And actually, I do drink red more than white or rosé. Although a sparkling white is great for a celebration, isn't it?
And it was also interesting when he said about red wine being chilled.
Oh yes, because
I never thought about that.
No, I have actually chilled some red wine, and I can't remember what it was, but it was lovely. And as he said there, with a tuna steak, sounds delicious.
You couldn't remember what it was because you had too much of it. Is that what it was? When you go to the supermarket, I imagine you get one of those big boxes.
No,
with a tap on it.
I do not. I look for organic wines now, actually. And because there's so few of them, I just look along the row, see an organic wine and try that one. I found some very nice wines like that.
Good.
The Dating Show, brought to you by olderdatingonline.com.